Good morning and welcome to this morning's Knowledge Bank. I'm Vicky from News on the Block, and today's session is going to be hosted by Ed Mead, founder of Viewber. Ed is going to be talking you through how to keep an eye on your assets, such as Firedoor inspections and managing HR. We will be taking questions at the end of the session, so if you have any questions, please submit them via the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and we will try to get through as many as possible at the end. The session is being recorded today and will be available to watch back via our YouTube channel later today. And without further ado, I will now hand you over to Ed to begin the session.
I remember to unmute myself. Thank you very much, Vicky. And yeah, welcome to this particular session. My name is Ed Mead. I am, for those of you who don't know me, I am an FRICS, and I was in the estate agency game for almost 40 years, running a company called Douglas & Gordon, or one of the team running a company called Douglas & Gordon in London. We had 18 offices, thoroughly enjoyed being an estate agent, and we had a wide variety of disciplines that we were involved in. And by far and away, the most profitable and the ones we used to concentrate on mostly were our lettings and our property management. So in our case, that was both block management, lettings management, property management, and lettings itself. And clearly at the moment, for a lot of people, this is a very worrying time. I would absolutely understand if people watching this either live or on the recording were feeling a bit freaked out about life. You know, I've worked for a long time in my life, and I certainly don't want to see it all destroyed by a bunch of clowns around us doing the wrong thing in the world. It's really frightening. If you look at the situation we're in, we're probably in one of the worst economic situations we've been in for decades, really. Combination, slightly self-inflicted, obviously post-Brexit, Ukraine war, we all know the reasons why everything's so difficult, but particularly at the moment, the thing I think that people are focusing on clearly is costs and worrying about staff numbers. And certainly when I was part of the team running D&G, one of the biggest things we used to always try and work out was how many properties each of our individual property managers could manage. And it was a real problem. Clearly, if you wanted to manage more, you needed to employ more people, and you were always looking for efficiencies. And one of the problems we used to have within that envelope was how to keep an eye on large numbers of assets. At D&G, we had several thousand properties under management, and keeping those inspected all the time was very, very difficult. And that was with a non-geographically diverse portfolio of properties. And it was, from that perspective, because it was a relatively small geographically diverse area, it still presented us with problems. And these days, obviously, a lot of people have much more geographically diverse areas they're looking to cover, and employing people to go and look at those assets is very, very difficult. Now, what I'll do is, if I may, I'm going to put a little bit of a thing up here to explain what Viewber is. Viewber, Viewber, Viewber.co.uk, if you want to have a look at it. I set up the business with a business partner, Marcus DeFerranti, back in 2016. And since then, we've done over 350,000 appointments, inspections, etc., etc. So the business clearly works. It's on a very sound economic footing. It's not a here today, gone tomorrow business. So from that perspective, what we've done is, and actually, let me put a slide up. I think that's probably the easiest thing, which I'll give, rather than you having to look at my mug, you can look at something which perhaps just explains the business a bit better. So from our point of view as a business, it's a national network of people, trained and vetted people. A large number of them have property experience who are available to go and do appointments locally. So from our perspective, if you look down here at our main services, that could be to go and do viewings. So for a lot of people who have geographically diverse portfolios, if they need somebody to go and look at something, they can book us to go and do it, whether it's to show a potential tenant around or whatever it is. They can book simply online with a very easy to use platform. You can book staff for an hour, for a day, to go and do things for you. So from that perspective, anything property related, they can go and do, whether it's to do multiple inspections on a block of flats or whatever it is, you can book people. There's a whole range of services. I'll explain later on how you actually go and do that. We do an enormous number of property reports. So people who want their properties inspected regularly will go along and just to have a template from the business just to say, yeah, this is okay. They can ask for specifically what they want looked at. We have a 360-degree tour capability. So we have people all over the UK who can go and do 360 tours. So whether that's on your common parts in your buildings or individual properties, they can be done very easily. Open houses, very efficient way of using our staff or our viewbers, as we call them, all over the UK. And this is literally completely national. It covers Northern Ireland and the whole of the GB as well. So we have 7,000 registered, over 3,000 active viewers. So it's like having your on-demand workforce, really, from that perspective. We can do property inspections, checks on properties. We can take photographs, whether it's marketing style photographs or what's that damp patch over there like, particularly if your property's empty, very, very useful from that perspective. And we can also do listing packs. So if you want to list a property for letting or for sales, and you need someone to go along and do a floor plan, a brief description, whatever it is, we can do all of that for you. We do a lot more things. Those are just our main services. But if you go and look at viewber.co.uk and you register there, you'll be able to see a full list of 30 odd different services that our people can provide. So if you think about Viewber, it's like an on-demand temp sort of viewing and inspection service, really. And from my point of view, looking at what property managers have to do, and certainly what ours used to do at D&G, was that they often had to go and do things which involved huge amounts of traveling time. And of course, if you've got a local viewer, the average length of time, or the average distance, pardon me, for a viewer to go and see a property is about 3 miles. So most of our viewers live locally to the property. So the other thing we're very proud of is the fact that we are a carbon neutral business. So from that perspective, that does involve planting trees, et cetera, but we save our clients an awful lot of CO2 because they don't go marching across the county or the country to go and inspect a property when they can just pay somebody locally to go and do it. It's like having their own on-demand staff. All our guys are vetted, trained. We have an online academy, so they learn how to do inspections or 360s or how to take the right photographs, et cetera. So from that perspective, it's just, again, it's like having your own on-demand contractor or staff. And we have thousands of clients in all sorts of sectors. Our biggest growing areas are in build to rent with private landlords, developers, property managers, block managers. It's all useful to us. And having been an estate agent for 37 years, the estate agency businesses have been very, very slow to grasp what we do, which isn't any great surprise to me, having been an estate agent. It's a very slow business to change. I have a suspicion that what's going on at the moment might just change people's minds quite quickly. They might think, oh my God, I need to change what I'm doing and the way I do it. I'm pleased to say that the property management sector and the auction sector and one or two of those sort of property management sectors have been much quicker to engage with us and to change, which is very reassuring. So I think that industry is, and particularly at the moment, going to be looking at the bottom line more and how to keep it looking good, which is obviously very important. Again, just to run you through how you book with Viewber, but you'll see a thing here saying that the this booking process, it's very straightforward. Once you've been in and set yourself up an account, you will get a call from someone from our business development side who will obviously run you through it very quickly, make sure you're happy with what you see, et cetera, understand your needs, try and recommend which products might work best for you. That's just a short call, very easy, well worth doing. So once you've got that set up, booking something is as simple as this. You visit your dashboard, your properties will be preloaded, book whatever you need online. Now, the average length of time that then gets that booking, once you've made it, gets sent out to our Viewber, to all the local viewers who are relevant to the service that you've requested. The average length of time to get an acknowledgement is 11 minutes. So from that perspective, you tend to get an acknowledgement back straight away through the platform. You then get the, from our point of view, when the job goes out, it goes to the Viewber and it says, we need a property inspection of 3 flats within a block, or common parts and fire doors, whatever it is. And it just gives the address and it just gives the postcode and the time to the Viewber. Once the Viewber's pressed accept, you get the details of the Viewber that's going along to do the appointment for you. And the Viewber then gets the full details of the job, where the keys are, et cetera, et cetera. And by the way, we fit key safes and all that sort of thing, if that's an easier way of doing it. So often, again, management of keys is a nightmare. It certainly was when I was at D&G. So we do fit key safes. We're very used to doing that easily, and it does make a lot of sense. And it makes managing the property an awful lot easier, we find. So you get details of what's happening, of who the Viewber is. The Viewber then attends the appointment, does whatever the appointment is, comes out, gives you straight back whatever you've desired through the platform. So whether it's the report, photographs, a 360, whatever it is, comes back through the platform. No human interaction at all. You just book it, book the end product, the person turns up, does what they're asked to do, and it all comes back very, very simple through our platform. And you can, we'd like you to then rate what you've had out of that platform. What you've had out of that service. So it makes sense to us. But the fact of the matter is, full UK coverage, 3,000 Viewbers that are active month to month, over 7,000 registered, and we have done more than 350,000. Now, a lot of you watching will know that one of the biggest changes that's coming up at the moment is related to this. I'm just changing over here to get, if my screen will work properly. From January next year, you'll know that these are going to be mandatory every 3 months. So having your fire doors inspected, this is clearly a post-Grenfell issue. It's very politically hot, and frankly, it's probably quite right. I remember at Douglas and Gordon, we had a problem in our block management section with a fire once. It proved to be very costly for us, very caused us a lot of concern. And I think from that perspective, it's quite right that people are going to be asked to check their fire doors. Now, being asked to inspect your fire doors once every 3 months from January the 23rd is quite onerous. If you've got a geographically diverse portfolio, how are you going to get that done? Now, we're working with some big property managers at the moment who are beginning to book in this service. So from our perspective, I mean, the pricing you see there is obviously a basic pricing for going along. From our perspective, there are often more sensible ways of doing it by the hour, booking by the hour if you've got a block with several fire doors, but you can do anything from inspecting a single fire door to a block of fire doors or a whole block of flats, whatever it is. So the problem a lot of people have when they're going to need fire doors checked, as an example here, is how on earth do you do that? It's really quite difficult. So what we've set up and what we've got in place is really simple. Just get a local Viewber to go and do it. They can actually take a photograph, tag it, send it back to you, so your compliance will stay completely up to date, that someone's looked at it. And of course, while they're there, they can look at other things. Are all the bulbs working? Whatever. I know most of you who manage blocks know perfectly well that tenants in blocks are very quick to tell you when things are wrong. But nevertheless, you can have a look at particular things which may not be obvious in the first instance. And we think that providing this last mile service is highly unusual. So to be able to go and book someone to go and do these sort of inspections just on a simple piece of online, and it'll be available via an app shortly, just to be able to go and book someone to go and do that and get it done is, I wouldn't say revolutionary, but it's certainly a very strong evolution of the way most people run their businesses at the moment. So we'd like to think that we can save you an awful lot of time and hassle. The staff you've got can be doing what they're good at, rather than spending their time sitting on a train or driving their car or whatever it is across to look at these things. So we think there's an enormous amount of efficiency that can be gained by using a good local Viewber workforce to your best advantage. So we've got a situation from January the 23rd, as I said, where every 3 months your fire doors need to be inspected physically. I mean, again, this is available on our website, so please do go and have a look at it. I mean, the other thing we do is, one of the things that we're doing as a product is for instance, we can do a tenancy and asset check. So if you have people, you're looking after properties and you need to get them checked out, whether you're a housing association, whether you're in the PRS sector, to have someone go along, check up on the tenant, make sure the property's looking okay. You know, no one, as this says here, no one wants to be the focus of the next hard-hitting TV documentary if you're a regular ITV viewer, you'll know that there have been a couple of housing associations which have received a lot of unwelcome attention in this arena. But certainly the ability to have someone book someone, go along, check up on a tenant and get details from them, make sure they are who they say they are, make sure the property's in good order, etc., is definitely, it makes a lot of sense. Now, Vicky will be sending out these details afterwards, so it's not a problem to if you can't take all of this in now, it's really not a particularly big problem. It's a vital part of well, it's an ever-growing part of what we do. As I said before, you know, I'm sure there's probably not one person watching this who isn't thinking, how are we going to not survive, but how are we going to thrive over this very, very difficult period? And I've always looked at times like this as being a time of advantage. I was talking to a journalist last week who at the Spectator, and she was worrying about buying a property. She and her husband wanted to buy a bigger property to live in. And I said, well, hang on a minute. What people always forget as an example of how you can thrive in a market like this, that if you think your property is going down in value, but you're looking to buy a bigger one, if the one you own is worth 350 and you sell it for 325, you might think you've lost on paper 25 grand. But if the place you're buying is 500,000 and you're buying it for 550 because that's gone down, you're sort of 25 grand up on the deal. So people always seem to forget that the best time to buy a bigger property is when the market's falling or when things aren't so good. And there are always opportunities for this. I'm absolutely sure that for a lot of you who have particularly individually incentivized property managers, why not think about giving them access to Viewber, saying, well, actually, you know, within their budgets, if they need things done at properties, why not think about using Viewber to go and do the inspection or to meet that contractor? We can fit a key safe for you to make the property more easily manageable. And the modern Bluetooth key safes are phenomenal. You can send someone a code which only works for a couple of hours. So you don't have to worry about going up and changing the code because the contractor's been in and doesn't, you know, you think to the contractor, you don't worry about that contractor going back when they're not supposed to be going in. These Bluetooth ones are completely different. The whole game for managing keys is changing, and it's such a bore. So for your individual members of staff, giving them access to Viewber might enable them to do an awful lot more management and less traveling. And certainly from our perspective as a business, that was why we set it up. It's designed to be a much more localized business. I mean, certainly the other thing I would say is that from the perspective of what we do at Viewber, all our people are local. So they know the local area really well, which often helps to have somebody local doing something. They may come back on their report and mention something which you hadn't been aware of. There could be something changing locally, saying, by the way, did you know that, you know, just behind the building, they're building a new railway terminal? I mean, it's a bit extreme, obviously, but and we find that often helps. I mean, I would be very interested to hear from all of your perspectives, whether there are any particular issues which are out there at the moment. I mean, the conversations we're having with some very big managing agents are around fire doors and asset inspections, you know, keeping an eye on all of your assets that you have under management. You may own them, they may be under management, whatever it is, but that is quite an issue for people. I can't remember. I think when I was at D&G, I think the improvement in efficiency that we had was something like, it went from about 85 properties that they could manage each to about 130 during the time we were there. And obviously the argument always is to try and get that efficiency number up. How many properties can your staff manage? And everybody has, or is being offered these days, wonderful widgets and add-ons and things to make their businesses work more efficiently. But often what they don't have is the ability to do that last mile stuff. Because one of the wonderful things about property, and one of the things I hope you watching this enjoy as much as I used to working in the business, is that it's mainly a people business. You have to have people involved in the process. It can't all be done electronically. It's a people business. You know, if you are going to meet somebody, you've got to go meet them. You want to eyeball somebody, check they exist. So much of what's being done these days in terms of KYC and compliance is all electronic, but often having somebody actually turn up and do something. And that's the difficult bit. You know, what you want with your staff is not to have to employ so many staff that you can deal with the peak periods. And you don't want to have a situation where you only employ enough staff to deal with the troughs, because then when it gets really busy, you're not going to have enough staff. And equally, if you employ staff to deal with the peak periods, and then, as we know, our industry is relatively seasonal, well, it is seasonal, you're going to have stages when those people are sitting around twiddling their thumbs. And every member of staff that you have, I'm absolutely sure, has a specific skill set. Not everybody's good at everything. You know, certainly the people I used to employ at D&G and the people I've known in the property industry on the lettings and sales sides have always enjoyed the bit where they get out in their car and drive off to meet somebody and show them a property. But that isn't really the bit these days that's particularly useful. The bit that people need done these days is to try and get offers out of the people that have seen properties. And just to give you an example, our research shows that the majority of people that go and see a property actually don't want to meet an estate agent at the property. They actually just want to get in when they want to get in to see it. They don't want to be sold anything. But obviously the selling these days can be done on the phone. It doesn't need to be done whilst driving around. And equally, from a property management perspective, driving around, traveling via train. I mean, I've heard some unbelievable stories of people driving miles to go and look at properties. And I just don't think it's always necessary. You know, you could book a Viewber for a day, for instance, for, I don't know, 140 quid, who'll go around and inspect, you know, dozens of properties during that time. And that's not somebody who's out of the office, probably being paid that per hour. I mean, it's a really, to me, it seems like quite a no-brainer, but we are particularly keen to work with forward-thinking agents and managers who are looking, who perhaps, let's look at this a different way. How many times have you turned down a job or turned down a management contract because you think you can't service it because it's too far away, or the property isn't worth enough to make it to make it viable for you? Well, if you've got a service like Viewber, and you've got 2 or 3 local people who can go and do the business, you know, the inspections you need, or to meet a contractor, or to take a photograph of something if there's an empty flat that's, you know, you've got a report from the neighbor down below that there's a leak, and they can pop in and have a look at it. Surely you would be able to say yes to those contracts. So why wouldn't a service like this enable you to do more business, full stop? And why shouldn't it enable you to make more money out of the contracts you already have? And surely that's what this is all about. It's about making sure you're making enough money to keep your staff employed, keep the business running and the lights on. And let's face it, keeping the lights on is all part of the deal. You know, triple energy costs. And we don't know how long this lunatic Putin's going to be carrying on doing what he's doing, but I don't think there's any sign that he's going to be giving up soon. So this is an issue which is going to tighten rather than loosen. So from that perspective, I think anything you can do to get more business and to maintain the business you do more efficiently obviously has to be worthwhile. Having come from the world of estate agency, the challenges often on the property management side are not always the most obvious to me. I've got a great team around me of people, and so I'd always like to hear. I mean, you can get a hold of me. My email address is just emead, E-M-E-A-D @viewber.co.uk. So please, even if you don't want to go to Viewber and check the website out, I'm always very happy to answer questions. But I'm also very, very keen to work with some of you guys who and to work out what your challenges are. I mean, to give you some idea, I don't know how your business is, what your KPIs are, what your key performance indicators are. From our perspective, we do the thick end of 15,000 movements a month with basically 6 people in our bookings and support team. We have a lot more people than that working in the business, obviously, but that's the bookings and support team. Now, that's an enormously efficient process because 75% of what we do doesn't involve human beings. Our clients book a service, the service goes out to our viewers, the viewers say yes, they get the details of the job straight from the platform, they go and do the job with the details from the platform, they then put their feed, they put the product or the output from that visit, whether it's a report or for an inspection, photos, whatever it is, back on the platform, which goes straight through to the person that booked it. Now, some of you may be running businesses which involve an awful lot of people in that process. So you may be running a business where every time someone wants to book a contractor or an inspection or whatever it is, they have to go through a lot of phone calls, emails, chasing people around, etc., etc. We're also very keen to work with someone who might want to think about using our platform itself. That's a very different thing. But from an efficiency perspective, not necessarily talking about the Viewber service, but the platform we've built. How about white labeling our platform so that you can run all your facilities and platforms much more efficiently? Your staff can then do everything they do, and you may not need quite so many members of staff to do it. Some of the businesses we talked to have talked about enormous savings by white labeling a platform which is really modern and up to date and able to even get your contractors bidding against each other for the job without you having to ring them up. They just get sent the job locally. They say, yeah, I'll do that for 200 quid or 150 quid or 250 quid. You just pick, yes, I'll have that one, and it's all done for you. So again, if there's anybody out there that's keen to work with us to try that, it's there. We do it for other people at the moment already, and I think we'd like to do it with more people. So there are sort of two things to look at here. Managing your HR and staff, we can help fill in the gaps. So I hate to be talking at a time when people are worried about losing their jobs, because it's a worry for everybody. I got a stepson who's looking for a job. We all probably know people who are looking for a job or worried. Everyone's slightly worried about their jobs probably. But the ability to be able to do more with less is, I think, do more with less. I think that's the bottom line here. I mean, again, I'll just very quickly, I'll just share that where are we here? Yeah, so just so you can see in terms of the main services where we are, viewber.co.uk, that's the website down there at the bottom. And as a young business, we are, of course, this whole business, you probably guess I got a lot of grey hair and I'm quite old, so it's not it's not saying I was used to, but certainly the fact that we're carbon neutral is a huge benefit. But I just come down to the bottom there where it says how can Viewber help you. More often than not, when you use businesses which are national, and for those of you who do manage large portfolios of properties, or maybe even small portfolios, but they're very diverse all over the UK, often dealing with contractors or dealing with people who are going to go and do things, you're dealing with a franchise operation because people don't have national coverage. It tends to be with franchises. And you often don't have any idea what the quality of that franchisee is going to be like. From our perspective, you have a single service level agreement. So it's one point of contact where you go and book things for the whole of the UK. And it's just one point of contact, and it's a uniform service dealt with in the same way, whether you're in Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, doesn't matter where you are. So that's 30 minutes for me. And to be honest with you, I think that's probably enough. You've been very, very kind to listen. I hope I've explained it in a way that will benefit you. Doesn't matter what I do. This webinar is all about you guys listening to this and trying to, I mean, I would hope that the reason you're either watching a recording of this or you're watching it live is because you would like to know how to better keep an eye on your assets. And the only way often to keep an eye on your assets is to have someone go and look at the bloody things. And that's what we provide. It's not necessarily sexy. It's not particularly revolutionary, as I said earlier. It's more evolutionary, but it's as a sensible way of getting people who've been trained and vetted to go and deal with your local needs. Surely this is more modern than a lot of the ways that people are doing it at the moment. So I know we've got an hour. I can't see any questions up here at the moment, so I don't know whether what I've explained has been so easy that people haven't got any questions that they want to ask. But I would be happy to take any questions. So, you know, is there anything that any of you would like to know? It's a straightforward answer. I don't know whether Vicky has any questions, having got me along to do this, as she appears back on it. I think, Vicky, people have probably had enough of listening to me. I'd like to be able to...
No questions is normally a good sign, because I think it usually means that you kind of answered what you was going to speak about, so there's nothing missing.
Well, I think one of the things I would say actually about this entire process is that normally often when we talk to people, they tend to look at the cost of what we provide, and what they don't see is the value of it. So I would just urge people who are looking at this and thinking, well, okay, we've got problems with our management of our portfolios all over the place, and particularly with Firedoor inspections and the other bits and pieces that are coming, but Firedoors in particular. It's very onerous having to inspect every Firedoor you've got every 3 months. That is onerous for a lot of people.
Yes, I can imagine.
And this is, you know, the value of not having members of staff going around to do that, or a more efficient way of booking the contractors to go and do it, is just, it's incredibly significant, I think. And that's what I'm keen to try and get over to people, is that don't necessarily look at the cost of these individuals going, because as I said, all the costs that you've seen on the sheets I put up there are just, they're indicative costs. But the idea that you could go and inspect a whole building with 6 or 7 Firedoors for sort of 50 or 60 quid, that wouldn't even pay probably for the time for a person to be out of the office to go and do it before you even look at the lost opportunity of what they could be doing if they were back in the office and chasing new business. So there are so many opportunities. Yes,
definitely. I'm just looking, I can't see any more questions. So I think if nobody's got any questions, then we can probably wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as I said, I've given my address out. I mean, you know, Viewber, Viewber, Viewber.co.uk. Please do go along and register there. And if you register at the website, you can have a chat with someone of business development if you want to. You don't have to, but you can then see a full list of services and prices, which I think is, you know, that's the easiest way to do it. If you have a particular question, or you'd like to think about working with me, you know, Emead, EMEAD at Viewber.co.uk, and I'll be very, very happy to hear from anybody with any questions, and particularly if you have any needs where you think, hang on a minute, they've got a network of people all over the UK that they can call on to go and do things. I've got this problem. Can we develop a service? We're very happy to develop a bespoke service. We do quite a lot of work like that with clients. Very, very happy to develop it, particularly for anybody watching the News on the Block webinar.
Yeah, well, for anyone that's watching and for anyone that's registered, I will send out a copy of the recording, and I'll send out a copy of the notes that you've got with your contact details as well. So if anyone wants to get in touch with Ed, I will send that out to you all by email this afternoon. If anyone wants to join us for our next webinar, it will be on the 29th of November on compliance with building safety regulations. So you can register on the News on the Block website for that. Otherwise, thanks, Ed, for joining us this morning and for your time. And thanks everyone for joining us. And I will speak to you soon.
Okay, good stuff. Thanks very much, Vicky, and thanks everyone for listening. Good luck in the existing environment. Thank you.
Bye.